Welcome to Dome Candy Games Supplemental. These videos are designed to provide supplemental information to my review videos. As such, it might make more sense if you watch my review of Road & Track Presents The Need for Speed first. About a year after the release of the DOS PC version of The Need for Speed, the Need for Speed Special Edition was released. This version added a bunch of interesting and useful new features like a revised menu layout that makes it easier to select the race mode, as well as a live in-race map that shows where opponents and cops are relative to your position. It also added 2 new circuit tracks, Burnt Sienna, an Old West themed track, and Transtropolis, an industrial city themed course. Unfortunately, there aren't any new point-to-point tracks to be found, though you can now race any track in mirror mode, and you can change the time of day from midday to evening, or sunset basically. I used to think this looked pretty cool, but looking at it now it just seems oppressively orange. Why was this a thing in the 90s? Just make it orange, that means sunset! In addition, camera angles have been revised in the races. You can switch to a new bumper view, but the tail and helicopter views have also been tweaked in that they're much closer to the vehicle now. I actually find this to be the worst and most distracting change to the game. The camera was always sort of locked to the track in the original, but these new angles feel more locked to the car. Oddly enough, the camera breaks away from the car if the car exceeds a certain angle to the track, which makes it even harder to follow. You can switch to more of a sky view with a secret key combination, but this is almost too far away. The new viewpoints plus the strange addition of a pseudo suspension bounce when your car jumps makes the physics feel different, even though they're pretty much identical to the original. The coolest improvement is arguably the existence of in-race music and a lot more music options. This is some of the raddest junk in existence. However, if you're like me and want to make the best crashes ever, the original is what you really want to play. In NFS Special Edition, your car is forced to reset after a crash, even if you land on your wheels. This foils some potentially great multi-car crash setups, unlike the original. In all, the Special Edition adds a lot to the game, but in certain areas I still enjoy going back to the original more. In the years following the release of the Need for Speed, a French programming student, Denis Auroux, reverse engineered some of the code and released a tool that players could use to create, or really modify, tracks. It's tough to navigate, but TrackEd is the only program of its kind for the first Need for Speed, and it really works. Sort of. Because the visual representations are all 2D and based on these nodes, it's kind of hard to get a good idea of how your changes to the tracks will drive once you get into the game. And that's pretty much what you have to do, just save your track, boot the game up, and put a car on it, which means track altering is a time-consuming process. Most of what I've created turns out to be a glitchy mess, but if you're conservative enough with your modifications, it can play pretty well. You can also swap textures out, the placement of which is based on these point locations, but it's so tedious and difficult to do that I've never really tried. In very recent years, another software engineer, Jeff Harris, has been working on an open source rewrite of the original game, using original textures, models, and other source material. You can download the project from his website, and he also has a couple of videos hosted on YouTube showing what it looks like in its current early stage. The most recent video of which was posted in June of 2015, and it shows what's beyond the finish lines in the point-to-point race segments, something presumably no one but the developers have seen in like 20 years. That's all for this episode of Dome Candy Games Supplemental. But if you like, check out my review of Road & Track Presents The Need for Speed, or check out my other video on the game, and specifically my memories from playing it back in the day in my Dome Candy Games Nostalgia Lobe episode on it. Once again, if you're interested in some of the other iterations of the first game in the Need for Speed series, you gotta check out Lazy Game Review's 2-part series on the game, where he covers the original 3DO version, other console ports, and some weird Japanese imports. Really good stuff. And as always, thanks for watching Dome Candy Games, because video games are like candy for your dome.